The first alien ever to legally marry me was holding a clipboard. That was the moment I knew first contact had gone wrong. Not explosion wrong. Not invasion wrong. Paperwork wrong. The Galactic Customs Hall was the size of an airport, except cleaner, quieter, and filled with beings that made absolutely no sense to my brain. Some floated instead of walking. Some had too many joints. Some had skin that reflected light like oil on water. Everything hummed softly, like the entire building was alive and trying not to be noticed. And there I was, standing in line, holding a glowing tablet, waiting to be processed like luggage. The tablet in my hands displayed a form labeled Emotional Intent Disclosure. I had no idea what that meant. Underneath it were boxes I didn't remember checking. Willingness to cohabitate. Pending. Bonding eligibility. Confirmed. Compatibility status. Active. Active? I hadn't actively done anything except stand there and try not to panic. A tall, thin alien official stood behind a floating desk, its 4 eyes scanning lines of text that only it could see. Its voice, when it spoke, sounded like calm static. Human participant 342 Delta. Processing complete. I blinked. That's me? Yes. It gestured past me. Your bonded mates have been notified. I waited for the punchline. It never came. My what? The official tilted its head slightly, as if confused by my confusion. Your bonded mates. They have accepted your declaration. I didn't declare anything, I said quickly. I just got here. The official paused. One of its eyes flicked toward a point behind me. Declaration recorded. Timestamp. 14 minutes ago. 14 minutes ago, I had been standing in the waiting area, exhausted, overwhelmed, trying not to stare at anyone. I remembered gripping the tablet too tightly. I remembered exhaling slowly. And I remembered smiling. Not a confident smile. Not a seductive smile. Just a nervous, awkward smile at 2 alien women who had been staring at me from across the room. Because they were staring very intensely. Because I didn't know what else to do. Because on Earth, smiling meant I'm harmless. Apparently, out here, it meant I accept you as my wives. The official extended the tablet toward me. Binding romantic declaration acknowledged. Cohabitation contract activated under Galactic Cohabitation Law, Article 7. My brain stopped working. I think there's been a mistake, I said. There has not. I didn't propose to anyone. You displayed your teeth in a submissive, friendly expression while maintaining prolonged eye contact with 2 eligible partners. That's called being polite. That is called consent. My mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. That's insane. Insanity is not a recognized legal defense. I rubbed my face. This can't be real. They are approaching. I turned. And everything got worse. They moved toward me with slow, deliberate steps. The first was tall and impossibly graceful. Her skin shimmered faintly, like moonlight reflected on water. Her eyes were large, soft, and focused entirely on me with an intensity that made my chest feel tight. She moved like every motion was intentional, careful, controlled. The second was different. She moved like gravity was optional and confidence was mandatory. Her posture was relaxed, but her eyes were sharp, predatory, locked onto me like she'd already decided something permanent. There was strength in the way she carried herself, in the way she closed the distance without hesitation. They stopped in front of me. Close. Too close. The graceful one spoke first. Her voice was gentle, warm. You declared yourself to us. The other tilted her head slightly, studying my face like she was memorizing it. You chose well, she said. My heart was beating so hard I was sure they could hear it. I didn't choose anything, I said. They both looked at the official. The official spoke calmly. Declaration confirmed. The graceful one's eyes softened even further. He is nervous, she said quietly. The other nodded. He is fragile. Fragile? I'm not fragile, I said automatically. She reached out before I could react. Her fingers brushed my arm. Not grabbing. Not restraining. Just touching. Her expression changed instantly. Her pupils widened. Her breathing shifted. She whispered something in a language I didn't understand. The graceful one stepped closer too, her hand hovering near my shoulder before gently resting there. Her touch was careful, reverent, like I might break. "He is warm," she whispered. The other nodded slowly. "Alive." I was beginning to regret being alive. The official extended the tablet again. "Cohabitation agreement requires signature acknowledgement." I stared at it. "If I don't sign?" "Agreement remains valid. Signature confirms awareness." So signing didn't create the problem. It just admitted I understood how screwed I was. I signed it because apparently my life was already over. 4 hours later, they arrived at my apartment. Not with bags. With cargo containers. Large, metallic crates floated through my front door like they owned the place. I stood in my living room, watching as my entire personal space was quietly invaded. The graceful one walked slowly through the apartment, her eyes observing everything. The other stood beside me. Close. Very close. Too close. "This structure is inadequate," she said. "It's an apartment. It is unsafe. It passed inspection." She didn't look convinced. Behind us, one of the crates opened with a soft hiss. Inside was equipment I didn't recognize. Lights. Panels. Medical-looking devices. "What is that?" I asked. "Health monitoring systems," the graceful one said. "For who?" They both looked at me. "For you." "I don't need monitoring. You are human." That apparently explained everything. I watched as they began reorganizing my home without asking. Furniture moved. Devices activated. Lights adjusted. My couch was scanned. My bed was replaced with something that looked softer, more supportive, and vaguely expensive. "You cannot sleep on inadequate support structures," the graceful one explained. The other stood beside me again. Always beside me. Always watching. "You will be protected," she said simply. Protected from what? I didn't ask. Because I wasn't sure I wanted to know. Night came faster than I expected. I stood in my bedroom doorway, staring at my bed. They stood nearby, watching, waiting. "You should rest," the graceful one said gently. "I can rest," I said. They didn't move. I lay down slowly. They remained standing, watching me. "You can go to sleep too," I said. They exchanged a glance. Then the aggressive one spoke. "We will remain." "Why?" She looked at me like the answer was obvious. "To ensure your survival." The graceful one moved closer, sitting near me. Her fingers gently brushed my hair. Careful. Protective. The other positioned herself near the door. Alert. Guarding. I lay there in silence, staring at the ceiling, listening to their breathing, feeling their presence. Hours ago, I had been alone. Now I had 2 alien wives monitoring me like I was the most important thing in existence. I didn't know how a nervous smile had done this. I didn't know how my life had changed so completely. But as sleep slowly pulled me under, one thought echoed louder than the others. To them, I wasn't insignificant. I was something worth protecting. And they weren't leaving. I woke up to the sensation of being watched. Not the normal kind. Not the vague paranoia you feel when you leave your phone recording by accident. This was focused. Intentional. Close. I opened my eyes slowly. They were both there. The graceful one sat beside the bed, her posture straight, hands resting gently in her lap. Her eyes were fixed on my face, calm and attentive. The other one stood near the foot of the bed, arms loosely crossed, her gaze sharp, alert, like she'd spent the entire night waiting for something to attack me. Neither of them blinked when I looked at them. Neither of them looked embarrassed. Neither of them looked tired. "You have regained consciousness," the graceful one said softly. I blinked. I was asleep. Yes. She said it like sleep was a medical emergency. I had barely survived. The other one stepped closer, her eyes scanning my face, my chest, my arms. "Your breathing remained stable," she said. "Good," I replied weakly. She tilted her head. "Yes." I pushed myself upright slowly. Both of their eyes tracked every movement like I was defusing a bomb instead of sitting up. I sleep every day, I said. They exchanged a glance. The aggressive one spoke. That is dangerous. It's normal. It renders you defenseless. It renders me rested. They clearly did not consider that a fair trade. The graceful one leaned slightly closer. Did you experience pain during unconsciousness?
No.
Discomfort?
No.
Fear?
No.
She relaxed slightly. We will continue monitoring. That word again. Monitoring. I swung my legs off the bed. Immediately, both of them moved closer. Not aggressively.
Protectively.
Like I might fall apart without warning. I'm going to the kitchen, I said.
They followed me.
Not behind me.
Beside me.
Always beside me. Every step I took, they adjusted their pace to match mine perfectly. Not too close. Not too far. Just close enough to intervene if I spontaneously died from walking. I reached the kitchen and grabbed a glass. Before I could turn on the sink, the aggressive one placed something on the counter. A metallic container. She opened it. Inside was clear liquid. Purified hydration solution, she said. It's water? Yes. I already have water. She didn't move. This water is optimized. I stared at it. Optimized water. I drank it. It tasted like water. But now it was alien water, which meant I couldn't even trust water anymore. The graceful one watched me carefully. You consume nutrients inefficiently, she said. I eat food.
Yes.
Incorrectly. Before I could respond, another crate opened behind us. Inside was food. Not normal food. Organized food. Measured food. Perfect portions. This will improve your survival probability, she said gently. I was surviving fine before. She didn't argue. She just looked at me with an expression that said she disagreed completely. I turned to open one of my cabinets. The aggressive one moved instantly. Too instantly. Her hand gently intercepted mine. I will inspect. It's cereal. She opened the cabinet cautiously. She stared inside like it might attack her. It is safe, she concluded. She handed me the cereal box like she had personally defeated it in combat. I poured myself a bowl. They both watched. Intently.
Carefully.
Like cereal consumption was a high-risk activity. I took a bite. They both visibly relaxed. You are functioning, the aggressive one said. I've been functioning my entire life. She reached out suddenly. Her fingers wrapped around my wrist. Not tight. Not painful. Just firm enough to feel my pulse. She closed her eyes slightly. Feeling it. Measuring it. Her voice softened. Stable. The graceful one stepped closer too. Her fingers brushed lightly against my shoulder.
Warm.
Gentle. Affectionate. You are resilient, she whispered. No one had ever said that to me before. Not like that. Not like it mattered. I finished my cereal slowly. They stayed close the entire time. When I stood up to put the bowl away, I accidentally bumped the edge of the table with my hip. It barely hurt. I barely reacted. They reacted like I'd been shot. Both of them moved instantly. What happened? Impact detected. Are you damaged? I'm fine. The aggressive one crouched slightly, her hands hovering near my side, not touching yet. Pain level. 0. The graceful one ran her scanner across the area. Lights flickered softly. No structural compromise, she said with relief. I stared at them. It was a table. They both looked at the table. The aggressive one glared at it, like it had personally betrayed her. She nudged it slightly with her foot.
Testing it.
Evaluating its threat level. It is unstable, she concluded. It's a table. It harmed you. It introduced itself to my hip. She didn't laugh. She just repositioned the table farther away from where I normally stood. Problem solved. Threat neutralized. I rubbed my face. This is not necessary. They both looked at me, confused. It is, the graceful one said softly. You are our mate. The word mate did something strange to my chest. Heavy.
Warm.
Permanent. The aggressive one stepped closer again. Her fingers brushed lightly against my arm. Not checking. Not measuring. Just touching. Your survival is our priority. Her voice wasn't clinical anymore. It was personal. Possessive. Not in a controlling way. In a protective way. Like I was something valuable. Something irreplaceable. I didn't know what to do with that. No one had ever treated me like losing me would matter. I moved toward the living room. They followed. Of course they did. I sat on the couch.
They sat beside me.
One on each side. Not touching, but close enough that I could feel their warmth. Their presence. Their attention. Always on me. Not because they had to be.
Because they wanted to be.
Because somewhere, somehow, a nervous smile had convinced two alien women that I was worth protecting. And the strangest part wasn't that they believed it. It was that I was starting to wonder if they might be right. I lasted 6 hours before I finally asked the question that had been sitting in my chest since customs. They were in the living room with me, adjusting one of the softly glowing devices they'd installed near the wall. It emitted a low, steady hum, like it was breathing. Everything they brought into my apartment seemed alive in some subtle way. They worked together without speaking. One adjusted the bass while the other monitored readings on a floating display. Their movements were smooth, coordinated, practiced. Like they'd been doing this for years. Like they'd been doing this for me. Why me? I asked. They both stopped. Not dramatically. Not suddenly. Just enough to acknowledge the weight behind the question. The graceful one turned toward me first. Her eyes searched my face carefully, like she was trying to understand what exactly I was asking. Clarify. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. You could have picked anyone. Out of 8 billion people. You picked me. The aggressive one watched me closely now, her posture alert, attentive. That was intentional, she said. I don't understand why. They exchanged a glance. Something passed between them. Silent communication. Mutual agreement. The graceful one moved closer and sat beside me. Not too close. Just close enough to remind me she was there.
We observed you, she said.
I frowned. Observed me? Yes. My brain stalled. For how long? She hesitated. 4 of your years. My mouth went dry. For years. The aggressive one nodded. You were a candidate. A candidate for what? They both answered at the same time. Bonding. I stared at them. You were watching me for 4 years. I repeated slowly. Yes. That's not comforting. They didn't react defensively. They reacted with concern. The graceful one spoke softly. We needed to ensure compatibility. With what? With us. I ran a hand through my hair. What exactly were you looking for? The aggressive one stepped closer now. Strength. I almost laughed. You picked the wrong guy. She shook her head immediately.
No. Her voice was firm. Certain.
Explain, I said. She gestured toward me. You endure isolation. I blinked. You function without social support. That wasn't strength. That was just being alone. You experience emotional distress, she continued, but you do not externalize aggression. I stared at her. You feel pain, the graceful one added gently, but you do not inflict pain on others. Neither of them looked like they were complimenting me. They looked like they were stating facts. You demonstrate restraint, the aggressive one said. Restraint is not strength, I replied. It is, she said immediately. Their certainty made my chest feel tight. The graceful one reached out slowly, her fingers hovering near my hand before gently resting against it. You assisted unfamiliar humans, she said. I frowned. What? You provided aid, without expectation of reward. Memories surfaced. Small things. Forgettable things. Helping someone carry groceries. Stopping to check on a stranger after a fall. Holding doors. Waiting patiently. Normal things. Meaningless things. Apparently not meaningless to them. You maintained kindness despite lack of reciprocal bonding, she continued softly. I didn't know how to respond to that. No one had ever described my life like that. Like it mattered. The aggressive one crouched slightly in front of me now, bringing herself closer to eye level. Her gaze wasn't predatory anymore. It was vulnerable. "You smiled," she said quietly. I exhaled. "That stupid smile ruined my life." She shook her head. "It revealed you." Her hand moved slowly, carefully, until her fingers gently touched my wrist again.
Warm. Steady.
Intentional. "You displayed submission without fear," she said. "It wasn't submission," I replied weakly. "It was trust." I didn't remember trusting them. I remembered being nervous, awkward,
Lost.
but to them, it had meant something else. Something bigger. "We did not choose randomly," the graceful one said softly. "We chose you." The words settled into the air between us. Heavy.
Permanent.
I looked at both of them.
Really looked at them.
Not as aliens. Not as invaders. Not as strangers. But as two people who had spent years studying me.
Learning me.
Choosing me.
Why?
I asked again, quieter this time. The aggressive one answered first. "Because you are gentle." The graceful one squeezed my hand slightly. "Because you are resilient." No one had ever used that word for me before. Resilient. I'd never fought in wars. Never saved lives. Never done anything extraordinary. I'd just survived. Apparently that was enough. The aggressive one's voice softened. "Our species bonds permanently." I looked at her. "There is no separation." The graceful one continued. "If bond is lost, psychological damage is irreversible." I understood then. This wasn't casual for them. This wasn't temporary. This wasn't an experiment. This was everything. "You risked that on me," I said quietly. They didn't hesitate. Yes. That kind of trust was terrifying. And overwhelming. And strangely comforting. The aggressive one moved closer to sit beside me now. Closer than before. Not crowding. Not restraining. Just present. "We were uncertain," she admitted quietly. "About what?" "If you would accept us." Her honesty hit harder than anything else. These two powerful, confident beings had been afraid. Afraid of me. Not because I could hurt them. Because I could reject them. The graceful one leaned her head slightly against my shoulder. Careful. Tentative. Seeking permission without asking for it. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "You are important to us." My chest tightened. All my life, I'd been background noise. Forgettable. Replaceable. But to them, I wasn't. To them, I was chosen. Not for power. Not for status. Not for strength. For kindness. For endurance. For surviving. The aggressive one's shoulder brushed lightly against my other side. Not trapping me. Not forcing me. Just there. Both of them close. Both of them warm. Both of them real. They weren't protecting me because they had to. They were protecting me because they wanted to. And for the first time since this insane situation had begun, I didn't feel trapped. I felt wanted. Not needed for what I could do, but for who I was. And that was somehow more terrifying than anything else. The message came while I was sitting between them on the couch. A soft chime echoed from one of their devices, low and melodic, but the effect it had on both of them was immediate. Their bodies stiffened. Their eyes sharpened. Every trace of calm vanished in an instant. The aggressive one stood first, her posture alert, protective. The graceful one lifted her hand slowly, and a translucent display unfolded in the air in front of her. Symbols shifted across its surface in smooth, flowing patterns. I didn't need to understand the language to understand the mood. Something was wrong. The graceful one read silently for several seconds. Her expression didn't change much, but I felt the subtle shift in her breathing. The aggressive one stepped closer to me, placing herself slightly between me and the display, like whatever was on it might somehow hurt me. "What is it?" I asked. They didn't answer immediately. They looked at each other. And for the first time since they'd entered my life, I saw uncertainty. "It is a bond verification inquiry," the graceful one said quietly. "That sounds official." "It is." The aggressive one spoke next. "They are evaluating bond stability." I frowned. Evaluating. She nodded once. "To confirm mutual acceptance." My stomach tightened. And if it's not confirmed? Neither of them answered right away. They didn't need to. I could see it in their eyes.
Fear.
Not fear of physical harm. Fear of loss. They may dissolve the bond, the graceful one said softly. The aggressive one's jaw tightened slightly. And reassign. Reassign. Like I was an object. Like they were being reassigned. The thought made something twist uncomfortably in my chest. They would take you, the aggressive one said quietly. Her voice was steady, but her hand had moved closer to mine without her realizing it. The graceful one looked at me carefully. They would determine compatibility elsewhere. Elsewhere. Away from them. The room felt different now. Quieter. Heavier. Neither of them moved. Neither of them touched me. But both of them were watching me like everything depended on what I did next. And somehow I understood. This wasn't their choice. Not completely. Their law had forced us together. But their feelings hadn't been forced. Those were real. I could see it in the way they watched me breathe. In the way they stayed close without restraining me. In the way they listened when I spoke. They weren't trying to control me. They were trying to protect something fragile. Something they believed in.
Me.
The display chimed softly again. Waiting. Requesting response. The graceful one hesitated. She didn't reach for it. She looked at me instead. We will comply with your decision, she said. The aggressive one didn't say anything. But her eyes never left my face. Waiting. I thought about my life before this. Quiet apartment. Silent mornings. Empty rooms. No one waiting for me to wake up. No one caring if I ate. If I slept. If I existed. I had been free. Free to be invisible. Free to matter to no one. Now that freedom was being offered back to me. And for some reason, it didn't feel like freedom anymore. It felt like loss. I stood up slowly. Both of them tensed instantly. Not to stop me. Just reacting. Watching. I stepped toward the display. It hovered there patiently. Waiting for confirmation. My confirmation. My hand hovered in front of it. I hesitated. Not because I didn't know what to do, but because I understood what it meant. This wasn't paperwork. This wasn't law. This was choice.
Mine.
I glanced back at them. They stood close together now. Not touching, but connected. Both of them trying to hide how much this mattered. Trying to be strong. For me, I remembered the way they had watched me sleep. The way they had panicked when I bumped into a table. The way they had spoken about me like I was something rare. Something valuable. Not because of what I could give them, but because of who I was. No one had ever looked at me like that before. No one had ever chosen me like that before. Until them. I reached forward. The display shifted under my fingers. Symbols rearranged. Awaiting input. I accept, I said quietly. The device responded instantly. Light pulsed once. Confirmation registered. Bond stability acknowledged. Behind me, I heard it. A small sound. Barely audible. Relief. I turned. The graceful one's shoulders had relaxed, the tension draining from her posture, like she'd been holding her breath for hours. The aggressive one stepped closer, her eyes searching mine, like she needed to be absolutely sure. You confirm willingly? She asked. Yes. The word felt bigger than it should have. Her hand moved slowly, gently, until her fingers wrapped around mine. Not checking my pulse. Not measuring. Just holding. The graceful one moved closer too, her hand resting softly on my arm.
Warm.
Steady.
Certain.
The fear in their eyes faded, replaced by something softer. Something deeper.
Not ownership.
Belonging. Not obligation. Connection. The room felt lighter. Quieter. Peaceful. We stood there like that for a while. No one speaking. No one needing to. Eventually, I sat back down on the couch. They sat beside me. Closer than before.
Comfortable now.
Not watching me like I might disappear. Just being with me. The aggressive one leaned slightly against my shoulder.
Careful.
Controlled. The graceful one rested her hand gently on my other arm. Neither of them overwhelming. Neither of them afraid. Balanced. Equal. I exhaled slowly. My life was still insane. I was still legally married to two alien women because of a nervous smile. They still monitored my health. They still treated furniture like potential assassins. That probably wasn't going to change. But something else had changed. This wasn't something happening to me anymore. This was something I was choosing too.
Not because of law.
Because of them.
Because they saw me.
Because they chose me. Because somewhere along the way, without realizing it, I had started choosing them too. The aggressive one's fingers tightened slightly around my hand. Not possessive. Reassuring. The graceful one leaned her head gently against my shoulder. Trusting. Safe. For the first time since all of this began, they weren't guarding me. They were resting with me. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel alone. Not monitored. Not protected. Not controlled.
Loved.
All because of one stupid, accidental smile. This time, when I smiled again, it wasn't an accident.